point, a true victory for Ukraine. The SBU and HOR's special operation turned the situation. Russia's defenses are in ruins, their forces are retreating, and ours are advancing. A major failure for Russia. Putin is screaming. Palyannitsia bursts onto enemy territory and sets its own rules there. Fierce drones will finally take control of the airspace. It has begun. The AFU are showing their true power. And this is only a part of our capabilities. Ukrainian forces are advancing with powerful weapons, breaking through defenses and showing their strength. A major operation may be underway.
Will be shaken. Ukraine destroyed the Oreshnik on its territory. It has not been disclosed exactly what kind of weapon was used by the Ukrainian special services. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian defense industry is expanding significantly every year. Ukraine is successfully using Neptune and Flamingo missiles together to strike Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky told journalists about this and noted that while this is not yet widespread use, there are already the first tangible results. Ukraine uses undisclosed weapons for successful strikes.
Against Russia, President Zelensky told journalists, "This is not a mass deployment. There are already tangible results from this weapon."
The president mentioned the use of a missile. President mentioned the Palyannitsia missile drone. The second positive trend, according to Zelensky, in dozens of cases has struck enemy military depots.
Zelensky named the use of the Ruta missile drone, which for the first time flew 250 kilometers and struck a sea tower, as the second positive trend. We have quite a few missile drone developments. There are analysts who say that these are all just small-sized cruise missiles. I don't quite agree with that, for one simple reason. Because, of course, cruise missiles are something that have a certain migration. That is, the missile is launched either from the air or from the ground, then these wings open up and they create a radio informational force that allows the missile's wings to carry it far. But our Ukrainian missile drones have fixed wings. So, a missile is launched either from the air or from the ground, then these wings open up and they create aerodynamic lift, which allows the missile to fly far. In contrast, our Ukrainian missile drones have fixed wings that are permanently attached, and they don't require any special launchers or special casings that are inserted into these launchers to ensure standardization.
However, the greatest achievement of the Ukrainians is considered to be the mass use of the Lyuti kamikaze drones, which numbered up to 300 UAVs.
Lyuti is a system with a different concept. It is neither externally nor internally the same. It has nothing in common with the Shahed, its control system, guidance system, and components. However, the greatest achievement of the Ukrainians is considered to be the mass use of the kamikaze Lyuti drones, which numbered up to 300 UAVs.
The security service of Ukraine's naval drones have improved in terms of combat payload and range. They can strike targets over 1,500 kilometers away. They were first used in 2022 during the attack on Russian Black Sea Fleet ships in Sevastopol Bay. And since then, these drones have kept evolving and improving. The SBU now has many more ways to destroy targets than before. And it's not just about 1,500 kilometers anymore. There are other capabilities too. Since August of this year, as you may know, the serial production of the Flamingo missile has been announced, capable of striking targets at a distance of 3,000 kilometers. The modernized Neptune has been successfully engaging ground targets for a year now, currently at a range of up to 400 kilometers. It has been stated that soon it will be able to hit targets up to 1,000 kilometers away. Urgently, in the north, as a guest in this place. Panic is growing in Moscow. Officials are nervously running around and the regions are forming people's militias because they are afraid even of the slightest hint of financial collapse. They are acting preemptively, like Finland.
Finland is deploying 15,000 troops to the border with Russia. The Finns are preparing for the largest series of military exercises this year. Conscripts, reservists, professional soldiers, as well as units from allied countries Sweden and the United Kingdom will take part. According to the country's land forces, the purpose of the maneuvers is to test the army's readiness to defend the state and to strengthen cooperation with NATO allies. This is NATO's corresponding response to aggressive actions from the other country.
On the territory of the occupying country, currently not far from the border with Finland. At this moment, there is intensive engineering construction of new military bases for the army. On the territory of the occupying country, directly close to the borders of Finland, there is currently intensive engineering construction of new military bases for the occupying country's army. This concerns Petrozavodsk, Kandalaksha, and other settlements on the territory of the Russian Federation, which indicate the redeployment of Russian army units directly near the borders of Finland. One of the largest episodes will be the Lively Sentry exercise, which will take place in southern Finland from November 27th to December 4th. Nearly 7,000 participants will be involved. The Russian Federation has constantly made it clear to Finland what threat hangs over this country. Moreover, there has been a continuous element of military political pressure on Finland with the aim, accordingly, of maintaining its so-called neutral status. So, to say that, in the spring of 2023, Finland officially became a member of the North Atlantic Alliance. This provoked a notably sharp reaction from Russia, worsening bilateral relations. In addition, Finland imposed sanctions against Russia and refused to grant asylum to Russians who, for example, in September, former ALCO president Dmitry Medvedev decided that Finland was preparing to attack Russia.
After joining NATO under the guise of defensive measures, Helsinki is pursuing a confrontational course preparing for war with Russia, apparently setting up a staging ground for an attack on us.
Moreover, according to his version, Russia, supposedly by law, after Finland joined NATO, Russia accused it of preparing for war and demanded way too reparations. Following the alcoholic Medvedev, the head of the State Duma Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, also made aggressive statements. He stated, or rather threatened, that at the time they paid too little thanks to the goodwill of the Russians. Following the alcoholic Medvedev, the head of the State Duma Defense Committee, Andrei Kartapolov, also made aggressive statements. He stated, or rather threatened, that Russia is ready to defend. They have everything they need. Medvedev had also spoken about this earlier.
We cannot ignore the fact that Finland is currently, at this moment, a member of the North Atlantic Alliance. This implies changes in our military approaches to border arrangements and to repelling. Medvedev had also spoken about this earlier. Political and
military leaders of Finland are doing everything they can to emphasize that an attack would be an act of suicidal madness. The Russian Federation is demonstrating its readiness for a direct confrontation with the NATO bloc. And accordingly, the first states that will be in the focus of the occupying country's army are respectively Finland and the Baltic states. That's why the risks are very high. An attack by Russia would be an act of suicidal madness. Earlier, it was reported that Finland had offered NATO to establish a new military base on its territory in Helsinki, which could become a base for large NATO reconnaissance drones. This is a sensational revelation that has come to light. No one was supposed to find out about this information. Now all the cards are on the table. Putin is sending soldiers into assaults indiscriminately. The hellish meat grinder of the front, which has decided to remain in Ukraine, devours Kremlin mercenaries one after another, but the dictator doesn't care. He gives desperate orders and follows through. He takes away single fathers, sending their children to orphanages. This is not the height of cynicism, a shocking Kremlin secret. Kremlin mercenaries are devoured one after another. Still, the dictator doesn't care. He gives desperate orders and follows through. He takes away single fathers, sending their children to orphanages. This is still far from
is not the height of cynicism. The shocking secret of the Kremlin, which is now known to everyone, lies ahead. Don't miss it. You need to hear this. The wounded and maimed are sent into assaults, and those soldiers who are unwanted are simply eliminated. And if someone refuses to sign a contract, then they will end up signing it anyway. But the newly minted soldier only finds out about this after the fact. It's also practically impossible to leave the army. Even single parents who by law should be released without any issues are not granted discharge. Their children are simply placed in orphanages during this time. According to single parents interviewed by Avesta, commanders may initially just refuse to accept their resignation reports, denying discharge verbally. And if the documents are accepted, they can simply be lost. And the soldiers continue to serve while their children temporarily live with relatives or are placed in orphanages. So it turns out that even though their father is alive, the children are orphans. But really, what can you say about discharging a healthy man when in the Russian army there is no such thing? And the soldiers continue to serve while their children temporarily live with relatives or are placed in orphanages. So it turns out that even though their father is alive,
the children are orphans even though their father is alive. But really, what can you say about discharging a healthy man when in the Russian army they don't even discharge severely wounded soldiers? They looked at us and said, "So what? You're healthy, just missing a leg." "Oh, it's just a leg. At least the sky is still above me, but it's just a leg. He's been sitting here for several days too. What was I trying to say with this?" These
occupiers will soon be sent on their final meat assault. The fact that some of them are missing limbs doesn't interest anyone. Their commanders simply use them as disposable cannon fodder. Some occupiers still believe the state will help them, so they complain to the Kremlin's ombudsman. These occupiers will soon be sent on their final meat assault. The fact that some of them are missing limbs doesn't interest anyone. Their commanders simply use them as disposable cannon fodder. Some occupiers still believe the state will help them, so they complain to the Kremlin's ombudsman about being denied medical assistance or receiving poor treatment. The number of such complaints has increased significantly. In Tver, over 2 years, from 459 to
In 1976, a soldier was treated, sent to the front, and has been missing since May 2024. Not all recover fully. It happens that a soldier is sent to the front line despite doctors' recommendations to continue treatment and the need for rehabilitation. And proper rehabilitation, it happens that a soldier is sent to the front line despite doctors' recommendations to continue treatment and the need for rehabilitation.
As a result, there are soldiers on the front line who are physically unable to carry out combat missions. But at least these ones went to the front voluntarily. There are also cases when Russian men only
find out after the fact that their occupation has changed. Black recruiting, black recruiters, they turn to human traffickers. What we have is simply human trafficking for the supply of
people to the front. Everyone, without exception, ends up in the crossfire. Cerebral palsy, mental illnesses, missing limbs, all of that is considered trivial. The Russian army will find a use for them. The local administrations, of course, know all about it. They even encourage it.
And help out. In my home village of Kenyu-Cherkasy, they got a guy from Siberia drunk. A Russian soldier like that can be eliminated with the help of his commanders. The occupiers complain.
It is known that unwanted SVO soldiers are often sent on extremely dangerous suicide assaults. One of the important roles during an assault in the military is called a platform. The occupier is sent without a weapon or body armor in order to reveal the firing positions of the Ukrainian forces.
You just run one way with a blocking detachment standing behind you. They don't let you go back. Your only chance to survive is to get wounded and be captured by the Ukers.
The occupiers confess not only to the doctors. Russian soldiers are sent unarmed to reveal Ukrainian positions, forced forward by blocking units. Their only hope is to be wounded and captured. Commanders sometimes cause friendly fire, endangering both soldiers and civilians. An artillery strike was carried out on a village. Many people died, including children. He only found out what had happened after.
The administration of the so-called LNR, as it was reported, complained directly to the command. Basically, what happened was that they mixed up the targets, specifically the Grad and Uragan ones. Both of these targets were marked in exactly the same way on the map without any distinguishing features, and the guy who was on duty at the command post just basically mixed them up, Captain. And I was told about this particular incident, which, as you can imagine, caused quite a bit of confusion and concern among those involved.
The incident was hushed up, and Russian television claimed Ukrainian servicemen were in that village. These are just the stories that have come to light in recent days. In reality, the situation is much worse and it keeps getting worse every day.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.